We said, well, what makes the short run is, in the short run, nominal wages are fixed, right? And then we said, all right, how about long-run aggregate supply? And we noticed that long-run aggregate supply is vertical at a level of output that represents the natural rate of unemployment. This is the natural rate of unemployment. Sometimes the natural rate of unemployment is the rate of unemployment where there's no pressure for prices to rise, the non-inflationary full employment rate. Sometimes we say the natural rate of unemployment was where the demand for labor equals the supply of labor. Another way of saying that is, at the natural rate of unemployment, cyclical unemployment is zero. The only type of unemployment that you have is structural and frictional. Structural unemployment being that unemployment that occurs because of structural changes in the economy. Frictional unemployment, that unemployment occurs because people are looking for jobs. Right? So we said, at some level of output, we are going to require the natural rate of unemployment. We said that's the long-run aggregate supply curve, meaning that in the long run, that's where we're going to be. Right? Now, in the short run, we said it's possible to have problems. Right? And one of the problems that we might have is that aggregate demand could go up. If aggregate demand goes up like this, in the short run, it's possible to have, let me do this first, this is the price level 1, and now price level 2. And price level 2 represents inflation, right? So in this situation, you have short, kind of short run, demand, pull, inflation. Right? That's bad. Right? That's bad. We said also in the short run, you can have a decline in aggregate demand. And if you have a decline in aggregate demand, you have a decline in output here. And we would call this recession. That's a recession. So in both cases, we've got a problem in the economy that's short run, right? A short run problem. In both cases, the problem in the economy is a result of a shift in demand, right? Something happened to one of these components. And as a result of that happening to one of those components, we either have too much demand or too little demand. Right? Not enough demand for people to buy the full employment level of GDP, too little or too much demand, more demand than the full employment level of GDP. And in both cases, you've got a problem that's sort of resultant from demand. Right? And this is what we talked about. We talked about, a lot about that. Then, what we kind of said was this. We know that in the long run, that if either one of these circumstances occurs, that in the long run, prices are either going to rise and then nominal wages are going to follow. And when nominal wages follow, that's going to shift the short-run aggregate supply curve. And basically, the economy is going to move back to a full employment level of GDP on the long-run aggregate supply curve. We know that. We know that in the long run, we kind of believe that the economy is self-correcting, right? However, and we talked about this in class, but this was kind of the last thing that we did, right? However, we said in the short run, there can be problems. I mean, in the short run, we can have unemployment, a recession. In the short run, we can have, demand pull inflation. And so, some people think that it's possible to fix problems that involve aggregate demand by attempting to alter aggregate demand, right? And we just said for the sake of identification, the people who want to fix aggregate demand by the sake of, for the sake of the short-run situation are called the Keynesians, right? The Keynesians. Remember, Keynes is the one that argued, look, the problem in the economy is too much demand or not enough demand. And we can alter demand by altering the level of government spending and the level of taxation to make demand be enough to fully employ, or for people to buy the full employment level of GDP, and not so much that it will generate higher prices, right? So that we can manipulate aggregate demand, right? So this kind of demand management sort of thing is what we associate with Keynesian economics, right? Now, well, how do we manipulate demand? Well, we said there's two big policies. You know, one, and this is the last thing that we did, we said one is like fiscal policy. And we went through fiscal policy. We said fiscal policy is when we change the level of taxation, we change the level of government spending, change the level of government taxation in order to manipulate aggregate demand. We talked about an expansionary fiscal policy, a contractionary fiscal policy. Then we said, well, the other alternative is monetary policy. And monetary policy is when we change the size of the money supply in order to manipulate aggregate demand. Now, we introduced those, and we said, you know, okay, monetary policy, if we expand the money supply, interest rates go down, aggregate demand goes up, then we fix a recession. We contract the money supply, interest rates go up, aggregate demand goes down, we fix inflation. And so we talked about monetary fiscal policy. Now, what I guess I want to do today is take that a little bit further and go into fiscal policy a little bit more deeply and monetary policy a little bit more deeply, and you sort of go from there. Now, before we do that,
real quick, why does Q3, why doesn't that lower price?
Well, we did talk about that yesterday, and we said, remember, there is this belief that wages and prices are sticky downward. So that, you know, as soon as demand goes down, you know, you should go here, but you don't, right? Because wages and prices don't fall. I mean, it's more likely when demand goes up. Let's see here. Let's see. So when demand goes up, we all say, oh, okay, demand goes up, that puts pressure on prices and go, but it kind of does, right? But when demand goes down and prices have to fall, Keynes argued, you know, and you could disagree, you know, Keynes argued that wages and prices are sticky down. And so if that's true, instead of going here, right, you go here first. And then when prices eventually do fall, then you kind of go here. And then when wages fall, you kind of go here, right? And so the adjustment is lengthier, right? It's lengthier, you know. Now, that's why we say, well, okay, why do we have to suffer through this? Right, this eventual readjustment. Why do we have to suffer through this? Well, and the Keynesians believe, well, you know, we don't. We can alter aggregate demand through fiscal policy. Now, we said that, you know, an expansionary fiscal policy is what we would do here. We want to shift aggregate demand. And in doing so, and in implementing an expansionary fiscal policy, what we would do is either increase government spending and or reduce taxes. Now, if we increase government spending, G goes up. If we cut taxes, C goes up.
C goes up.
Yeah, C goes up.
Yeah.
C goes up. So if we have an expansionary fiscal policy, and we're going to use government taxation and spending in order to alter aggregate demand, and we increase government spending, the amount of G goes up. If we cut taxes, the amount of C goes up. What if we increase government spending by 100 billion? Right? We increase government spending by 100 billion. And what if we cut taxes by 100 billion?